Hello, welcome to my review show. I'm holding a DVD cassette of the entire Toy Story franchise. I'm reviewing the fourth one, which may not necessarily be the first Pixar sequel no one expected to happen since they did make Finding Dory, but I can say that this is a follow-up that many have expressed some strong emotions just by the idea alone that Pixar was making this, and many were not necessarily positive. In fact, for years before its release, the movie received a good amount of backlash for continuing the franchise after the third film delivered another great ending, but the perfect way to conclude Toy Story. On top of that, when a film franchise receives their fourth movie, they usually end up going completely off the rails and break down with the previous three established or sink lower if they already did. In the case of Toy Story, it's often unanimously said to be the greatest animated film trilogy of all time, where each movie is considered a masterpiece, and there would be a massive angry mob on the internet if the fourth film doesn't meet up to those standards. So, now that Woody and the gang are still going on adventures even after their days with Andy, can the toys still hold strong on their fourth round? Or will we learn why a trilogy should stay a trilogy? Get ready to play.
I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's clouds' illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all.
The story. I'll tell you the story. Woody, Buzz Lightyear, and the rest of the gang embark on a road trip with Bonnie and a new toy named Forky. The adventurous journey turns into an unexpected reunion as Woody's slight detour leads him to his long-lost friend Bo Peep. As Woody and Bo discuss the old days, they soon start to realize that they're worlds apart when it comes to what they want from life as a toy. The fourth entry is a worthy addition to the Toy Story library, bringing back some of the most beloved characters in the history of animated film and introducing us to a fantastically entertaining new bunch of toys. Some of them adorable and huggable, some of them more reminiscent of a certain type of creepy, old-school doll usually seen in R-rated horror films. The animation. Time for the toys to come to life. Making Forky move was a challenge in a great way, says Cooley, who gave animators this direction. Make it look handmade. Make it feel like a kid was operating on it. As Forky's character progresses throughout the film, his gestures become less awkward, his arms get more flexible, and his eyes start to blink. The animators played with and studied ventriloquist dummies, so the movements of the Bensons were accurate. To find creative ways to animate Bo's use of her staff, filmmakers studied reference footage of martial artists, spear throwers, monkey staff experts, and fire dancers, among others. Forky tenderly brushing Gabby's hair, and neither of them notice that he's using the flat end of the brush. According to the director's commentary, the gag was put in because brushing hair is hard to animate. The photorealism that animators keep putting in movies is visible under the carnival worker's fingernail is just a bit of dirt. Interesting animation detail. When Ducky kicks Buzz, his head stretches all the way over to the side and passes through his shoulder. The spacing is physically impossible because there's no gap in the dome room for his head to fit in just hard plastic. An example of clipping from bad video game graphics, and happens a lot in animation like in Frozen from 2013 during Let It Go. Elsa's braided hair passes through her shoulder. Studio animator Claudio de Oliveira says his best method for understanding Forky and the movements of the toy's materials was to make his own Forky and play with it and his children at home. I went back to my memory of being a kid and sometimes making my own toys, de Oliveira says. You have a different connection to the toy just by making it. Though Target and other retailers sell ready-made Forky toys, he encourages Toy Story fans to craft their own and get personal, tactile experiences with the character. All you need is a spork or plastic spoon with scissors to cut it into a spork, pipe cleaner, glue, putty, or clay, a popsicle stick, and googly eyes. In some instances, the animation was stretched to its limit. The antique shop that provides the setting for the encounters with Gabby Gabby, for example, required Pixar's proprietary rendering software RenderMan and its global illumination plugin to track myriad reflections from rows of glass cabinets and thousands of reflective objects, using huge amounts of computing power and a significant chunk of the film's reported $200 million budget. When you have that much glass, it really makes the computer choke up, says Cooley. At the beginning, we didn't know if having an antique store would be possible. So, we had to do some tests early on to see if we could even make the movie. In other instances, a rainstorm, for example, and the character of Forky technology had to be used sparingly to maintain the franchise's visual feel. Strangely, that was our technical challenge, says Rivera. It was almost like managing the technology back a little bit. After scouring local Northern California antique malls and stores and studying how vintage objects age, the Pixar art department divided the space into individual set dressing units to handle each neighborhood. It took 2 years to create the antique store and its assortment of collectibles. On top of that, the set's shading team went to work on aging all the hard surfaces, particularly metal, glass, and wood. Micro detail was important for cracks, scratches, sun exposure, fading, and other defining characteristics. And when it came to cobwebs, an animator came up with a software program with artificial spiders that spun a series of intricate webs. For the rest of the dust, they used a simulation software package. According to producer Mark Nielsen, the dummies are, by far, some of the creepiest characters we've ever created. Our animators really leaned into the truth in materials for how our ventriloquist dummies move. Dummies' bodies are soft with no structure, so our dummies' arms just dangle and their legs bend backwards. Throw in their fixed expressions with their wide eyes and big hinged jaws, and their nightmare material in the best way possible. The term for fear of dolls, aka human analogs, like ventriloquist dummies, dolls, human CPR dummies, is automatonophobia. A few months after the redesign of Bo Peep came out, Peter reached Pixar. Bo Peep was completely redesigned for Toy Story 4, but her crook was one thing that was kept in place. PETA felt as if Pixar should remove the crook from the movie due to it being outdated and cruel. Pixar didn't even bother to respond, but even if they wanted to remove the crook, it would have been too late. By the time PETA made their statement, the film was already well into production. If Pixar had taken out the crook, they would have had to start fresh and reanimate several of the scenes with Bo Peep. The animators studied multiple make and models of anamorphic lenses to create the film's look, ultimately settling on those made by Cook Optics. They were so successful at replicating the quality and character of these lenses that, when engineers working for Cook saw the film, they recognized the look of their lenses immediately. By casting a replica model of Ed Catmull's hand, covering it in hand-drawn lines, vectors, and triangles, Then scanning it into a computer, the pair created a computer model they could then animate. The result was the landmark short film, a computer-animated hand, and the hand model itself can be seen in the store. The characters. Let's see who's here to play. Woody and his friends are back. They go on a road trip, and Buzz joins Woody on his rescue mission. Bo Peep is a porcelain shepherdess figurine and Sheriff Woody's longtime girlfriend. Bo Peep and her sheep were originally adornments of Molly Davis's bedside lamp, but were eventually donated at some point in time. Bo has since redefined herself as an ownerless antique. She is voiced by Annie Potts, who also voiced Edme from Arlo the Alligator Boy.
Okay, let's get a look at you. You need any repairs?
Happy birthday, darling baby boy.
An actual Spork-turned-craft project. Forky is pretty sure that he doesn't belong in Bonnie's room. Unfortunately, every time he tries to get away, Woody yanks him back into an adventure he'd rather skip. Gabby Gabby is a pull-string talking doll from the 1950s. But unfortunately for her, a manufacturing defect in her pull-string voice box has left her sounding anything but adorable. She has spent more than 60 years forgotten in the depths of a jam-packed antique store. Her only companions are a band of voiceless ventriloquist dummies. Gabby Gabby knows someone will want her if only she can find a working voice box to repair hers. Melephant Brooks is one of the older toys owned by Bonnie and thus gets little play or attention. Melephant, alongside the other veteran toys Carl Rhinoceros, Bitey White, and Cheryl Burnett, tend to get left behind during playtime, as does Woody. These dejected toys watch from the wardrobe as Bonnie plays with the others, while Brooks reminisces about the games they used to play like house. While Melephant Brooks is very much a cameo role in Toy Story 4, the character returned for Disney Plus series Forky Asks a Question. This 10-episode series finds Tony Hale's Forky asking Bonnie's other toys questions about life, including what is money and what is love. Melephant Brooks and the other forgotten toys field this question, with Brooks claiming he knows everything about love, while explaining the concept a love square forms. As it's discovered, Carl loves Cheryl and not Bitey, while Melephant wants to be with Bitey, but Cheryl loves Melephant. Sadly, what is love? Proved to be Mel Brooks and longtime friend Carl Reiner's final collaboration, as the latter passed away in June 2020. Duke Kaboom is this to how Buzz was in the first film. In both cases, their own individual toy commercials resulted in a reality check and caused internal strife about who they are. With Buzz, seeing his own commercial makes him realize he is in fact a toy and is not a flying toy, and attempting to prove the commercial wrong by flying resulted in him falling down a flight of stairs and having his arm pop off. With Duke, it's implied he knew from the start he was a toy, but when his owner, Regine, tried and failed to get him to jump like in his commercial, he got so upset he threw Duke away on Boxing Day, the same day he got him, and this incident wound up scarring Duke for years and instilling an uncertainty of ever making a stunt jump ever again. Giggle McDimples was inspired by Jiminy Cricket from Pinocchio. Jiminy's role in that movie was the conscience of a toy that had come to life. The film also plays around with toys listening to their inner voice. The way Buzz interprets the inner voice as coming from his voice box foreshadows the fate of Gabby Gabby. Without a working voice box, Gabby is willing to steal one from another toy with little regard for that toy's option, because she has no conscience. But when she meets Woody, who willingly gives his voice box up, Gabby starts to become a much more sympathetic and likable character. Woody gave Gabby an inner voice, both figuratively and literally. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to start watching the Toy Story franchise. I'll see you in the next review.